Let's talk now to Ian Blackford. He's the SNP's leader in Westminster. Good morning.
Good morning, Martha.
Now, the legal action hinges really, doesn't it, on whether the Ben Act works or not. That's the piece of legislation which requires the Prime Minister to write for an extension. So are you concerned from your perspective that it might not work?
Well, I have to say yes, and in some respects that's an extraordinary position to be in because it is an act of Parliament, it is the law of the land. The Prime Minister is absolutely compelled to write a letter to the European Council in the absence of a deal being achieved by the 19th of this month to seek an extension to the Article 50 process that would keep us in the European Union beyond the 31st of October till at least the end of January. But there is no indication from what the Prime Minister has said publicly that he's prepared to accept that law. Both he and his senior colleagues in Cabinet have continued to say that the premise that we face is one of either getting a deal or leaving on the 31st of October. So
They've also said they will obey the law, of course.
they've also said that they'll obey the law, but both these things can't be true. They don't stand together. But of course, what the Prime Minister has said through his legal representatives in the court in Edinburgh, that they will send a letter. So I think I and others are grateful that the court has indicated if the Prime Minister doesn't do this, then he'll be very quickly back in court the following week. So in a sense that we've got that copper-bottomed guarantee from the courts that the courts will be prepared to take action in the absence of the Prime Minister doing what he's being instructed to do by Parliament.
Now, another course of action would be to try and remove the Prime Minister through a motion of no confidence. But there's still no agreement, is there, amongst opposition parties on trying to form a government of national unity in order to call a referendum or call an election?
That's correct, and I'd simply say that we've come a long way in passing the Ben Act, and as I have done, I'd congratulate colleagues that have come together across the House to do that. But we are in unprecedented times. We do have a Prime Minister that we can't trust. We have a Prime Minister that prorogued Parliament, and we then obviously were able to ascertain that that was an unlawful act.
Well, that may all be true, but Jo Swinson, leader of the Liberal Democrats, who I've interviewed about this, says that you can't win a motion of no confidence with the idea of having Jeremy Corbyn as the caretaker Prime Minister because the numbers aren't there. In particular, the Independent Conservatives wouldn't vote for that.
I'd simply say to all colleagues that we've got a Prime Minister that we can't trust, and we should be very careful about what we'd be seeking to do in a motion of no confidence, because this isn't really about putting a government in place. It's simply about making sure that we have taken control of the process, that we can put into number 10 Downing Street on purely a temporary basis an administration that can deliver an extension to the Article 50 process and can immediately call a snap election. This is not about putting a government in place. This is about recognising that we are taking a risk in leaving the current Prime Minister in place, someone that we can't trust to do what Parliament has directed him to do. So I would simply say, Martha, that there's a responsibility of leadership that we all have in that place, and we've got to bury our differences and recognise that if we don't come together and do this, that there is no telling what this Prime Minister will do over the course of the next 2 weeks. We are in a constitutional crisis, and it is going to be a bumpy ride over the following days.
Ian Blackford from the SNP, thank you.